Hare Krishna. Welcome to the class on Bhagavad Gita. We are continuing with chapter 2. Before we start, we will recite the prayers to Shri Krishna and previous acharyas. This is called Mangalacharan, so that we can be successful in our study of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So, I will share the screen and you can follow along. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutah Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Okay, very good. So we will start where we left off last week. Any questions before we start? And as usual, keep your hands raised if you have a question, and turn on your camera. And for the Bhakti Shastri students, I just want to announce that attendance is required, and I have a way to take attendance from the Zoom. It records who all joined. So please join with your real name, not like sometimes it says iPhone or Samsung phone. Then you will lose the attendance. And if two people are joining on the same Zoom call, then put both your names, so I know that both joined. So that is the way I'm taking attendance. And if you want that, yeah, so please make sure that is the case. For those who are not doing Bhakti Shastri, it does not apply. And if you don't know whether you are doing or not doing, it means you are not doing. Okay. If you can see this. Okay. So a very quick review of Arjuna's attachments. So we discussed Arjuna's attachments in chapter 1, but in chapter 2, Arjuna very clearly indicates his actual or real attachments, which basically boil down to Bhishma and Drona. His grandfather and his teacher, both were very dear to him. And he finally surrenders to Lord Shri Krishna in a very miserable condition. Even though he thinks he knew all the answers, he realizes that he does not know all the answers. And he cannot answer this fundamental question, should I fight the war or should I not? So there is utter confusion in these moments to choose between option A or option B. And it is a matter of more than life and death. Many of us are faced with very, very impossible circumstances. I have faced it in my life, and I have faced it in seen very close people in my life face such situations, and I have been part of that agony, whether to do this or that. And sometimes both options are very good. So that's a good problem to have, as we say, that you have two options which are equally lucrative, and then which one to do. But here that is not the case. One option is very easy and seems to be very appropriate, which is to not fight. And there is this battle in his mind about upholding his duty as a kshatriya to fight for dharma, fight for injustice. So in all such situations, taking complete shelter of somebody who can guide us is very, very important. And especially spiritual guidance. So that's a big difference between what you might study in management books or any other books which are pertaining to the material world. They will not talk about anything spiritual. And here we are talking about only spiritual solutions. So material solutions are helpful. No doubt they are helpful, but they come with their own set of problems. Or even if it appears that they don't have a problem, then they are limited or they are temporary. They will solve that problem for some time, or they will solve only that problem, not all problems. So whichever way you look at it, spiritual solutions are the best ones. Another quick review from last time, that identity, one's sense of identity causes one's attachments. So this arrow here is showing the cause. It causes attachments, and attachments cause suffering. So, and pleasures also, but ultimately it is a cycle. So suffering comes sooner or later. If everybody is having pleasures, then you wouldn't be in the class. Or one is very happy, then then there is nothing to think about. Only the very wise people think about, oh, I'm having pleasure. Why am I having it? 99.99 pleasure is like, okay, enjoy. Then there's absolutely nothing to do there. You're in bliss or whatever, enjoyment. But all these thoughts about why me, why is this happening, nobody ever thinks when they are very happy. So all this comes when they are suffering. So that's why suffering is more magnified. But yes, pleasures are equally part of the same equation as much as our sufferings. Okay, so we had covered till this point. Then what happens in 2.9? So again, I hope all of you have your Bhagavad Gitas with you in your hands. Better to have a paper copy, and we will be going through verse by verse. So 2.9 and 2.10, what is happening in 2.9 is that Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, the chastiser of enemies. So Parantapa, so one who Antapa, who puts an end to his enemies, the chastiser of enemies, told Krishna that, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. But it's this I shall not fight is more like a I will not fight for now till you guide me. Because in the previous verse, in 2.7, he has taken shelter of Sri Krishna. He has said, Shishyasteham Shadhi Mam, that please instruct me. Tvam Prapannam, I am surrendering to you. So he is asking for instruction. So he cannot give a conclusion while asking for instruction or guidance. So he's saying, till I receive more guidance from you, I'm not going to fight. And then Lord Krishna in verse number 10 accepts Arjuna as his disciple. So here, continuing from last time, the surrender of a student or a disciple to the teacher is very important. First, acceptance of the teacher, that I accept you. And for the teacher to accept the student, it is always bidirectional. And the acceptance is indicated by Krishna's smile, prahasanniva bharata. Tamuvacha rishikesha prasahanniva bharata. So, O descendant of Bharata, at that time, O descendant of Bharata means Arjuna. But this is not Arjuna, this is Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya is speaking to Dhritarashtra. So they are of the same dynasty. So, O descendant of Bharata means O Dhritarashtra. At that time, Sri Krishna, Rishikesha, smiling, Prahasanniva, in the midst of both armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. So, Lord Krishna's smile here has very long commentaries by acharyas. Why did Krishna smile here? And there are multiple reasons. I will summarize a couple of them in brief. One is that it shows that Lord Krishna is Bhagwan and he fully understands what is going on in the mind of Arjuna. What is the problem? What is the diagnosis? What is the solution? Everything Lord Krishna knows. He's like very confident. So the teacher should be one who is, of course, he is Bhagwan, but teacher should be like that, very confident. He should just know right from the beginning, he knows what is the solution, what is the problem and what is the solution, so that it exuberates confidence. Another thing is to smilingly welcome the student under your shelter. So very smilingly, with a welcome smile, he's not laughing on Arjuna that, hey, you think you're, very smart, or why are you such a big warrior? You cannot even, it's not a sarcastic smile, but it is a smile of acceptance of the student, welcoming the student. Okay, so these are the points. So he knows exactly what the problem is, what the solution is, just like a grand master, like completely in control of the situation, while Arjuna is completely clueless. So it shows, and Arjuna is a very capable person, very, very capable person. So it shows the magnitude of the problem, that when such one of the most capable persons present on the planet, even he is confused, it shows the problem must be really, really big. And then it shows the greatness of Krishna, that even in the face of such problem, he knows what is the solution. So the problem is very, very big here, more than life and death, because it is about the death of someone you love, and that too at your hands. Yeah. So that nobody faces this kind of a situation. There have been some situations in the past, but anyway, it will elongate the class if we go deep into that. Okay. So now the Bhagavad Gita, the song begins. So now Lord Krishna begins to speak the Bhagavad Gita. So that is starting from verse number 11. So the first instruction by Lord Krishna is about the spiritual identity. So this whole discussion is about material identity. It starts from there. That's what we reviewed. And Lord Krishna is saying that the spiritual identity is more important than the material identity. The material identity, or one's identification with the material body, is temporary, whereas the identification with the soul is permanent. So that is going to be the topic of the next 20 verses, almost 20 verses, from 11 to 30. And Lord Krishna says in the first 3 verses, 11, 12, and 13, to focus on the permanent and to focus less or to tolerate the impermanent. So that is we'll discuss these verses first, and then we'll go through the rest of the chapter as well. Okay. So with this, Lord Krishna begins to speak the Bhagavad Gita, and here we take off into the depths of the teachings. So 2.11. So these 3 verses, 11, 12, and 13 are very important. And 13th verse is meant to be memorized for the Bhakti Shastri students, very famous verse, but we'll come there. So 2.11. Ashocyan anvashocastvam pragyavadamscha bhashase gatasun agatashunscha nanushocanti panditah. While speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So, gatasun and agatashunscha. So, those who have left and those who have not yet left. That means those who are living, not yet gone, and gone, those who are dead. So, na anushochanti pandita, the pandita, the wise people, don't think too much about either one or lament for the living nor for the dead. So the point is that the body is temporary. That is the main thing. That the body one day has to come to an end. Today it is living, tomorrow it will be dead, whether by your arrows or by natural means or through any other way, through an accident, through a snake bite, through some disease, snake bite or a bacteria bite, whatever it may be. It's all, bites by some foreign entities. And one day or the other, the body will perish. So the body is meaningless. Well, it is not fully meaningless. We will come to it. So we read 2.11. But what Lord Krishna is trying to say when he says, do not lament for the body, it means that the bodily conception of life is not the highest conception or understanding. So, and of the universe as well, or anything material. So the body here is a material body and the universe is also material. So anything material, to conceive of it, to understand it, to cherish it, to want it, to continue to associate with it, that is not the best thing. That's not the highest thing. It is not a wrong understanding. Okay? We all love our loved ones. We love our house, our whatever, so many things. So it's not like it is wrong and one should give it up. But it is not the best understanding. It's not the highest understanding. And therefore, Krishna is saying in this that you think you are very wise because you were speaking all those things that I don't want to fight, because I don't want to commit sinful actions. Those are wise words. After having been unjustly treated for so many years, almost from birth, now finally the Pandavas are awakening to demand justice. So they are very wise in that sense. They have shown a lot of wisdom already. And still Lord Krishna is saying that is still not the wisest thing to do. What is wiser is the spiritual understanding. So there is a higher wisdom present. All of the wisdom is at a material level. everything that Arjuna, every single reason that Arjun gave is at a material level. Think about it. Think about it. I don't want to kill my cousins, my relatives, my grandfather, my teacher. I will incur sinful reactions. So next life I will, or whatever, in this life I will suffer the, who will suffer the reactions of sinful actions? This body, I will suffer. So in that sense, it's all bodily concerns. What will people think of me? He's a greedy fellow. So people thinking of us in a certain way is also a material concern. So all of this is at a bodily or a material level. So the body is temporary. It is created and it is destroyed, just like a pot of clay. When we buy a pot of clay, we know it's not permanent. Today it is there. How much ever it lasts, good. When it breaks, we throw it away and we get a new one. So the body is absolutely no different at all. So the first point is that Lord Krishna is making in 2.11 is the meaninglessness of being attached to something temporary. By definition, it is temporary. One day it has to go. So one day our attachment will get shattered. It will get shattered, like it or not. One cannot prevent that. So if one attaches one to the temporary, one is signing up for that, that kind of disappointment or that kind of misery or suffering. One day one is already just like a pot of clay but there is no misery there, because in that case you are aware. There we know, yes, this will come to an end. So we have that understanding already, but we fail to develop or generate that kind of understanding to our stronger attachments. We think this will always remain. And that is the problem. So one must treat the body just like a pot of clay, that one day it will break. 2.12. Another very important verse. And the focus of this verse is exactly the opposite. That the soul, so what is permanent? Is there anything permanent? Yes. The soul is that which is permanent. Natva evaham jatu nasham, natvam neme janadhipah, na chaiva na bhavishyamaha, sarve vayam atah param. Never was there a time. So the soul is being called here by the words tva and aham. So you and me, Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna. So when there is being saying as tva or tvam and aham, it is referring to the soul, not the body. The soul within you or me, Lord Krishna is saying. So never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, Janadhipaha, and nor in the future, na chaiva, not at this time, and bhavishyamaha, in the future also, shall any of us cease to be. Okay. So in the previous verse, we said that the body is not very meaningful. So what is meaningful? That which is eternal, which is permanent, and which is the spirit soul, or the jiva or the atma it is called, not the body, which is basically matter. So that is the indication that is being given, or that's the main point of this verse number 2.12. Then another point that is brought out, a very important point, is that in this verse, Lord Krishna is also saying aham. So it seems like he is putting himself at the same level as everybody else, as Arjuna, as all these other kings who have assembled in the battlefield. So the words is natva eva aham, neither you nor me will cease to exist. But an important point, this is not coming out right now in this verse, but I want to explain this right now because Srila Prabhupada is also explaining in the purport. This point needs to be clarified, better to be clarified upfront. It will be clarified later in the future chapters, especially starting chapter 7, but again in chapter 13, this concept will be very deeply explained, Paramatma. But I want to explain it right now, which is that the Lord is also an atma, is also a spirit soul. So some people have this misconception that we, our soul, and Bhagavan's soul are same, are one and the same. That is not the case. Lord Krishna is clearly saying he's giving individuality to every soul here. You, me, all these kings. So they are all individuals, including himself. So one important point to understand is that every living entity is an individual soul. And not only every living entity, or not only every person or whatever, even Bhagwan is also an individual soul or an individual Atma. Just that he is Param Atma. He is the greatest Atma. Param means the greatest. So, and we will see later what are the differences between Paramatma and a Jivatma. But they are all individual. To give a very small or a very quick understanding, Paramatma and Jivatma are the same in quality. Quality-wise, they are the same. Quantitatively, quantity-wise, there is a vast difference. There are 3 examples that are given in the Shastra to demonstrate the difference between the quantity and the similarity of the quality. Qualitatively, they are the same. Quantitatively, they are vastly different. And there are 3 examples which bring this out nicely. One is a drop of water versus the ocean. So you can understand that proper quality-wise, a drop of water is the same as the whole ocean. But quantitatively, there is unimaginable difference. Another example that is given is that of a gold particle versus a gold mine. There is no difference in the quality of a pure particle of gold and a gold mine, but quantitatively they are different. And third example is given is of a spark of fire versus a forest fire. So those of you who live on the west coast of United States, they are very familiar with forest fires. So how huge and how devastating they can be. And a small spark. And typically a small spark only starts these wildfires. So quality-wise, they are the same because a spark started that wildfire. But once the wildfire begins, it's impossible to put off. So a spark can be put off. So that is the difference between Jivatma and Paramatma. And so Lord Krishna is saying that we all were always existing and we will continue to exist. That means, so another point in this verse, which will be brought out in a future verse as well, in the 20th verse, very important verse. But the point is that there is the Atma always has existed and will always exist from the past all the way into the future. So there is existence, continuous existence of the Atma, whether it is Jivatma or Paramatma. Okay. So the Kathopanishad, it is a very, very famous Upanishad, one of the prominent Upanishads. Kathopanishad is called. This broken down word is Katha Upanishad. And it's a conversation between a young boy named Nachiketa and Yamaraj. And there Yamaraj explains to Nachiketa in detail about this whole science of the soul. And in a very, this topic is, not possible to understand fully. So it is, but still, it is explained here in Bhagavad Gita in 20 verses. Kathopanishad in more number of verses, but still it is very deep to understand. It cannot be captured in a few verses. So it's very dense. So that is the understanding of 2.12, that the soul is permanent. And also Lord Krishna is referring to himself, that is Paramatma. 2.13, very famous verse. So now it is talking about the combination of the soul and the body. 11 talked about body and that it is temporary. 12 talked about the soul and that it is permanent. And 13 is talking about the mixture of these two, that the soul takes on bodies. Later on, we will see another analogy that as a person wears clothes. So there is a person and there are clothes. And then when a person wears clothes, that's what is being discussed here, that the soul takes on bodies. And the concept of reincarnation is just very clear. And it's very, very clearly coming out in this verse. Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. So here there are two words that are being used, deha and dehi. Deha means body. Dehi means the resident of the body or who resides within the body. Who is that? That is the soul. So the word, you may not see the word atma or jivatma here. Those words will come in later chapters. But here in this verse, the soul is being called dehi. So dehino asmin yatha dehe, that as the soul is in the body, kaumaram, or goes through the body, and kaumaram yovanam jara, that as the embodied soul continuously passes from kaumara to yovana, means from a younger age, boyhood, to youth, to old, and jara means old age. So you can see that the body is changing even in this life. I have this picture in the next slide of my children, and they're one of their close friends. He's also doing Bhakti Shastri right now, Shrikar. So, you know, I do not have access to this body anymore of my children. Now they are big, they have beards and mustache and, so much hair on their body. Earlier they had no hair and I used to cuddle them and all. Now they have beard and, if I kiss them, then my lips get scratched because they have, even if they are clean shaven, they have, the whatever. So it's not the same person, it's a different, and I really love them for even when they are 22 years old, but somehow I feel like, I want to go back to the time when they were 5 years old. But can I do that? I cannot. So in a certain way, can I say that that 5-year-old body is dead? Isn't it? Where is that 5-year-old body? Where is it today? It's gone. We can say it has died. We do not have access to it anymore. I do not have access to my own kids at this age. So you might have, this kind of understanding, this feeling, just trying to make you feel, but still we do not lament for not having access to that body from the past. We'll discuss that in a little bit. That concept is going to come out in the next 2 verses very strongly. But that is what is being said, that the soul is the same. It's still my son. I know he's my son. He looks like, even now when he's grown up with a beard and mustache and what big hands, I know he looks like when he was 5 years old, and he is the same son. Nobody kidnapped him and replaced him with a duplicate or anything like that. He is still the same boy, and he still loves me, and he's the same person. I know he's the same person, but that body has completely changed. Even science says that every single cell in your body changes through rotation every 7 years in a gradual way. It's like you change water in a fish bowl. I don't know how many of you do that, but after you do it enough, like after 10 minutes of changing the water in an aquarium, every molecule of water afterwards is new, is not the same as it was before you did the change. So after 7 years, there is no cell remaining which was present 7 years ago. So the body changes. And what this verse is saying, after death, also, it's just another change of the body. It's a more dramatic change, a bigger change, but it is still a change. That is what is being said. And a sober person is not bewildered. Dhira, sober means dhira, tatra na muhyati. He is not bewildered by such a change. So that's a very high state of dhira. We all get affected when people, loved ones, die. So this dhira is not affected because, so think about it. So a small, like I said in this next slide, I do lament. I'm not any way dhira. I do lament that my children are not at this age right now. I have zero access to that level of the body. What should I do? What should I do? And let alone my children's body, my own body. I would like to be 16 or 18 again. You know, my kids are in college. I feel like, hey, you know, those times were so good. I want to be, you know, somehow transform myself into like that 18-year-old and, you know, go to, you know, at 1 a.m. with my friends and go for a cup of tea or have some samosas in the cafeteria. And, you know, I want to do those, but I cannot. So my own body, I don't have access to. So that body is dead. And I do feel some lamentation. See, that is the point. If you think carefully, or if you sometimes are in a melancholy mood, you will feel lamentation, but not that much. Why? Because we have access to an alternate body. Okay, my son is not 5 years old. Now he's 25, let's say. But he is my son. You know, I cannot lift him in my arms because he's more heavy than me. But I can still, you know, sit with him, talk to him, those kind of things I could do. So I have access to an alternate body knowing it is the same person. So that is why there is not so much lamentation. But after death, is there lamentation? Now, the hardest thing for a parent is to lose a child. So will there be lamentation? Of course, tremendous. And we all wish as parents that we leave before the child. So nobody wants to see that day. But if that happens, will there be lamentation? Yes. Why? Because there is no more access. No access. Not even an alternate access. Right? So that is the difference. That is the difference. And that causes the suffering. Why suffering? Because of the complete separation of the soul from the body. And now, the soul has taken a new body. We have seen that in that previous verse. So whoever is the son or whatever will take a new body, whoever it may be. But we do not have access to it. We don't know which body. If somebody, you know, there are these cases of reincarnation and all where somebody is reborn. And then those parents or whatever, there was this famous story you can Google or YouTube of it's one of the most well-known cases of reincarnation of a World War II fighter. And he died. His plane was shot and he was killed. He was a pilot. And then he was born again as a child. Their current parents, they went and found out the parents of the fighter pilot. And those parents of the fighter pilot whose child had died, the pilot had died, were so happy to they hugged this small child. He was like 5 years old. And he was narrating everything. He narrated, my name was this, I lived in this city, I died like this. So much detail. If small child narrated, it couldn't be possible that he is like faking it. So they found out, they went to that city, and those parents had become old. They felt very happy, as if their child has come back. Again, it is because of the access. So there was a lot of closure, lot of satisfaction, or whatever, completion in their heart from losing the child in a world war. So it is that separation that causes the suffering. And what is the solution? That solution is mentioned in the 14th and 15th verses. And the solution is tolerance. Not just tolerance, but tolerance with knowledge. Knowledge has been given in the last 3 verses. So knowing that this is the nature of the material world, tolerate it and continue to do your duty. The world must keep going on. So that is the connection between these 3 verses, 11, 12, 13, very important verses, and 14 and 15. So 14 says, Matra Sparshastu. I do not have a slide on this verse, so I'll explain this. But Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shito Sukha Dukha Daha Agama Paino Nityastam Sthithikshasva Bharata. So tolerance. So titikshasva means tolerate. So my dear Bharata, my dear Arjuna, one must learn to tolerate the nature of the material world. What is the nature of material world? It is the fundamental nature of material world is, in one word you can say, up and down. Okay. And the way in which, or it is called duality. That is the actual technical word. It is full of duality. The material world is full of duality. Something is present, then it is not present, duality. Everything comes in two. Here it is Shita, Ushana. Shita means winter, Ushana means summer. So they always come. Sometimes it is winter, sometimes it is summer. Sukha, Dukha, happiness and suffering. So always there is duality. This material world's name is duality. And the fundamental duality is present, not present. Computer scientists have mastered this binary logic. 0, 1. Perfect use of duality of the material world. Present, not present. Anyway, that was a joke. So, or my friend, not my friend. You are my friend, you are not my friend. Fundamental cause of all fights, or rich and poor. My side versus your side, or whatever, my way or the highway, or us versus them. And we create so many divisions in this us versus them. So, and anyway, long story short. So that is what is the nature. One should understand the nature. Even if the sun is there, didn't die, that would be a great calamity. But still there is calamity. Oh, he doesn't love me enough. He doesn't call me. Oh, after marriage, he has become his wife's. He has forgotten the parents. Or so many, there is no reason for inviting suffering. If you want to invite suffering, you will have enough reason to suffer even when they are present. So one must understand that this is the nature of the material world. Duality is the nature, and you must learn to tolerate. In some cases, tolerance is needed is higher. In some cases, it is less. That's the only difference. Okay. So there is this, I'll just narrate it quickly, but I keep talking about child. because for a parent and child is a very close relationship. More than friend, more than, I would say, even husband and wife, more than brothers and sisters. It's a very strong bond because the child is born from the parent's body directly. So there is a lot of attachment. And Maharaj Chitraketu, he loses his child, who was born after a long time, after a lot of austerity and prayers and whatnot he went through. He is the king or emperor. He did not have any child. And finally, he gets a child. And then some people are envious of the child and they poison him. What a way to lose a child due to being murdered by somebody else who are envious of the child. So, he loses the child which he got after so much difficulty. That too, I mean, this is the worst thing one can imagine. That too, due to somebody else's envy. And he is just completely broken, Maharaj Chitraketu. This is in 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So what had happened was Narad Muni and I think Narad Muni and Angira Rishi, these two, had come to bless him, give him the blessing that you will have a child very soon. So he had a child. Then when they came to know that he is suffering so much because the child has died, they again come. And they try to console him, that they tell all these things which are being told just now. Don't worry, the body is temporary. One day the child has to go. He went little bit sooner than you expected. So your expectation was higher or whatever. So all these, they were not, the mother and father are still crying. The mother finally says, so they ask, what will satisfy you? Bring back my child. That is the only thing that will satisfy me, which means bring me access to my child. They say, okay, fine. If that's what you want, I will bring back your child. So they chant some mantras and, child's soul comes back into the body of the dead body, and the dead body becomes alive. And they are so happy, the parents, they start loving the child, hugging him, kissing him. And the child is now talking like a grown-up man. He says, why are you doing this? Who are you? The child says to the parents, to Maharaj, he says, don't you recognize? I am your father. She's your mother. You had died. Now you are back. And say, which father and mother are you talking about? I have had millions of fathers and mothers in my previous millions of lives. I don't remember which one you are. And when they hear this sentence, then they become completely detached from the child. The child says, let me go. I have a journey. And the child says the same things, that one, brings, one comes in contact with certain friends or certain co-travelers for some time, and then they detach, just like two, two particles of sand come together in a wind when the wind is blowing, and then the two particles of sand are separated. So let me go. And then the parents feel a lot of sense of closure, and they tell the child, okay, you go. So the soul again leaves the body, and then Maharaj Chitraketu becomes a very, very renounced, and he had that knowledge, but now he gets the realization. That is the difference between Gyan and Vigyan. We'll talk about it later in 7th chapter. So basically, he learned the aspect of tolerance. So that is what is mentioned in the 14th chapter. the 14th verse. And in the 15th verse, it is mentioned that so amrtatvaya kalpate, that this makes kalpate means make one's eligible or provides the qualification for amritatva. Amritatva means eternity, amrita or liberation. So this makes one eligible, or this qualifies one for liberation or to get moksha or to get rid of this cycle of birth and death in the material world. So that is the essence of 14 and 15. All right. Okay. Let's see. Yes, Raman Prabhu. I have not, you can unmute yourself, I think, right?
Hare Krishna. One quick question. So these souls coming together and going apart, it is completely random. There is no prior connections or karma or any of that.
No, there is
that
prior
takes
connection.
Precedence.
No, it is not random. It is preordained, and that's a very complex, you can say, flow chart or calculation that is done, and one gets a certain type of birth in a certain family based on the past karma, based on the certain things that have happened. It's very complex logic, but yes, it's not random. It is by design. Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
So during the so Ravan and a lot of other souls, they tried for permanence. Amritva they kept demanding amritva from Brahma and from Shiva and all that. When this knowledge was there already, that the soul is permanent while the body is non-permanent, why was it that a lot of even Hanumanji and a few other Chiranjeevis are there? So why is that? Why are there exceptions to the rule, and why are the people, knowledgeable people? Ravan was very knowledgeable. Why are knowledgeable people trying to achieve amrtatva for a body?
Yeah, so there are two questions embedded in your. One is, so let's keep Hanumanji aside. But why do demons, and they have knowledge? So yes, that is the perplexing part. And it is to show that even when you have knowledge, you may not have the realization. Chitraketu Maharaj also had knowledge. You don't become the emperor without having this knowledge. Still, when his child died, look at his situation. So it just goes to say that one should practice, one should put into practice the core teachings, not just depend on the gyan or the knowledge. And then one builds up the muscle, or you can say the strength, to tolerate and to keep going on. And that is what Bhagavad Gita is all about. It is about bhakti. So it is not just about understanding the Bhagavad Gita, it is also applying the Bhagavad Gita in our life. And when we start applying, then we start understanding. So this whole section is known as Brahma Gyan or Atma Gyan. Knowing it is not, it is useful, but it is not very useful. And having known this, or once one has known this, what should one do? If you remember, that is one of the slides I had in the first class, that there are 5 topics in Bhagavad Gita. What are the 5 topics? Jiva, Ishvara, Karma, Prakriti, and Kala. Okay. And there is a 6th topic. Having known these 5, what should one do? Okay. The demons did not focus on item number 6. Okay, so they did not put into practice. So having known the nature of the material world, to engage, ultimately to find the final conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is to do bhakti of Bhagwan. They did not engage in that. And therefore, they thought, oh, there is something known as eternal, which is the soul, and there is a body, can I make the union of the body and the soul permanent? Or in other words, can I make the body permanent? They tried to aim for that. So I would say they didn't even have the full knowledge. Knowledge means that that can never be done. So when Hiranyakashipu, he is the greatest demon, much greater than Ravan. You didn't name him. There is this small story when Ravan goes to Bali Maharaj. They are in the same sort of line of descendants. How you know Ravan is smaller than Hiranyakashipu? So he goes to Bali Maharaj and says, give me gold. I need gold to build my Lanka, Sone ki Lanka, golden Lanka. So Bali Maharaj said, here is a mountain of gold, go take it. So Ravana tries to lift that mountain of gold and he cannot even move it by 1 inch, let alone lift it. Okay, he says, what is this? Such a heavy mountain of gold you are giving me, I cannot even lift it. He says, you cannot lift it. You know what this is? Hiranyakashipu was one of your ancestors. This is the earring of Hiranyakashipu, this mountain. Is the earring. He used to wear it in his ears. So you are so small compared to Hiranyakashipu. Anyway, so why I'm telling this is because Hiranyakashipu is considered to be the greatest demon or the personification of the greatest demon. And when he goes to Brahmaji to ask for becoming immortal, straight away Brahmaji calls him a fool, saying, don't you know nobody can become immortal? Even I am not immortal. What about you? So ask something else. So then is when Hiranyakashipu asks all those things. I should not die in the day or in the night or here, there, all those things. So the point is that they also know, but they don't know it fully or they forget it and they try to, they still try for the unachievable. That is the fallacy. And that is where we are also. We may know it, we forget it, and they try to. So they may know it, they may know it, but at the time of applying it, they forget. Just like ourselves, we know we should not eat too much. But when nice gulab jamuns and samosas and puris are coming, then you forget that, how much you should eat and where to stop. You keep going, and then 5 hours later, you repent. Oh, I should not have eaten. I should have stopped. So that is our nature, because knowledge is one thing. Applying the knowledge at the right time is a whole different thing, which comes by practice. And that practice is bhakti. So, yeah, what are you trying to say? I think you're making a comment or a counter question, but voice is not clear.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, actually there's some network issues. Sorry about this.
Sure. So do you have a follow-up, or is that good enough?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So therefore, practice knowledge is one thing. If the key takeaway is knowledge is one thing, applying the knowledge in the right way under the guidance of Guru is very, very important. Otherwise, one can forget the knowledge at the time when it is needed. Okay, Pradeep Prabhu, you can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So I have a couple of questions. The first question is regarding the soul, which we call Dehi. We see a lot of people born every day. Like, is the souls are countable, or it is like uncountable? And whether these souls get generated by themselves or from the Prabhu, like Krishan ji or somewhere, or is this like constant in this world and keep transferring from animal to human being to animals, and is this keep on rotating?
So we'll cover some of these points in the future slides today. So souls are never created, they are never born. Okay. And a very hard concept to understand, I will come to it, is known as Anadi or Aja. Aja means unborn. There is no birth. And Anadi means, Adi means beginning. Anadi means no beginning or beginningless. We will cover it just in few minutes today, hopefully, if we can get there. Another point that you asked is that, we see so many people getting born and all that. And very common question, world population is increasing. It was whatever, 6 billion, now 7, now 8, whatever. It's a very tiny number. There are so many jivas. So it's not just human beings. The total number of jivas are in whatever, I don't even know, trillions, quadrillions, even on this earth. Look at the number of fish. Look at the number of worms or bacteria. Everybody is a jiva. So, and when reincarnation happens, you can go from one body to another. Okay, and that is mentioned in 15th chapter, that one can go from one body with a one particular set of senses, sense organs, to another body with a different set of sense organs. Like a dog has very good sense of smell that you don't have, I don't have. Or dolphins can hear very, what you call, sounds which are very minute from 100 miles away. I cannot hear anything which is even half a mile away. So the migration of the soul happens from one body. So you have to consider all the jivas in not only on Earth planet. Earth planet itself, there are quadrillions of them. Every tree, every grass is also a jiva. Now how many are there? Okay, so uncountable. Plus, in this universe, there are so many planets with jivas. Even science is saying that today, exoplanets, and they are looking for life on other planets and so on. Plus, there are uncountable number of universes coming out of Bhagavan's body. Not created. I mean, universes are created, but we will talk about this in 8th chapter. So, uncountable number of, the answer is number of jivas in this whole creation, not just Earth, not just this universe, but in the whole of creation, which comprises of unlimited universes. The number of jivas is uncountable. It's literally uncountable. Okay, so that, I think those were the questions you asked.
Got
The
it.
details will come in the future chapters, and please, hang on till then.
Yeah, I have another question as well. So, when we say you took the example of the soldier of World War II, like he knew about the past life and everything. So, what difference, or like how the soul can know about their past life and can get detached, something like this? Like, okay, we
And
are.
detached. So we are already detached. I don't remember anything about my past life. I'm assuming you don't either. So that detachment is created by design. You are not attached to your previous life because you don't know, right? That boy was not also attached to his previous life, but he just had the remembrance of his previous life, which happens in a very rare case. Now, we all have the remembrance of our past life in our what is known as subtle body, also a point which we will cover today, which comprises of man, buddhi, and ahankar. So in our subtle body, we typically give a name in our subconscious mind. That's an English name that is given. The Sanskrit is man, buddhi, ahankar. That knowledge is stored, but we have not been allowed access to it. Now, there are some siddhis and some ways to access. Some people call it past life regression and this and that. Those are, if done properly with qualified, people can cheat you. Or, oh, you were a, so-and-so in last life, this, that, whatever, nonsense. But if you really go through that process, you can find out who you were in your one or two of your lives, not millions and millions. So all that is there. But one another lead question is, why don't we remember our past life? We have this burning curiosity. Always human beings, we are all curious. We are even curious what the neighbor is cooking more than what you want to eat, what is he eating, or all this is just, we are just the most curious, nasty people, so to say. more interested in poking our nose in other people's life than minding our own, how to progress our own life. So that whole thing about who was I in previous life is also a matter of curiosity. It doesn't, if that knowledge really will help you improve our life, okay, then the design could have been that that knowledge would be available. Our tendency, I'll just give a small, like a joke, not a joke, but like a sarcastic or rhetorical answer. Okay, you understand what's a rhetorical answer?
Yes, yes.
Like if you knew about your past life, many people bolne ke liye, just to say, they will say, oh, I can learn from my mistakes. Are Baba, there is enough to learn from your mistakes in this life. Did you reform yourself? How many people reformed themselves by learning from mistakes in this life or by looking at other people? They make mistakes, but we also make the same mistake. So there is enough to learn in this life. The more important reason is who to take revenge against, who killed me in the last life, who did all the, I will now go to them or to their descendants and take my revenge. That is why the design of Lord Krishna is to make you forget so that you get more or less a clean slate. You are not full of that mentality of that baggage is not there. Whatever it may be, or suffering, or I can give in more gross examples, I don't want to, but even in this life, many people wish when they are disgusted with the negativity that they are living with, then that's what creates depression. It creates a lot of mental issues. This PTSD, which soldiers go through, post-traumatic disorder, whatever, stress disorder, when they see people dying and their heads getting detached from their body or themselves, they are shooting them and they are dying. There is so much stress in their whole psyche. They wish they forget. That's why they become mad. They go to get psychiatric treatment and they are waiting to forget that. If we knew our past lives, we would be like having 100x PTSD. So Krishna has created this mechanism to, he has given good solution for PTSD in our life. Okay. So that is why it is by design, we don't remember our past life. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Anyway, we went a little bit beyond your question.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. I think it answered my questions.
Ramya, and we will talk about some of these things today if we are able to get there. Yes, Ramya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I think my question is a continuation of the previous one, but originally my question was what part of the identity moves as we have this reincarnation? It's clear that the material identity is not there, but the spiritual identity of this, does it get carried away to the new
Spiritual
body?
identity, we'll talk. First, we must understand what is spiritual identity. But yes, spiritual identity is carried because it doesn't change. The spiritual identity is eternal. It is unchangeable. We'll get to it today. And it doesn't change. But we don't have access to that either.
Yeah.
Do you know your spiritual identity?
No.
No, probably. Right? So, bhakti is the process. Instead of trying to figure out who we were in our past life as a material person, what was our material body before the last time we died, or 10 times before when we died, who was I? Whether I was a cat or a dog or whoever I was, Einstein or Hitler. We should try to find out who we are in the spiritual world. That is that is the most important inquiry that we can engage in and we should engage in, is to identify our spiritual identity. Once you are on that path and you are able to actually identify your spiritual identity and make progress, then very quickly you will attain that spiritual identity, go out of this material world, go out of the cycle of birth and death, and go back to the spiritual world, which is called Vaikuntha. So that is called moksha, nirvana, or whatever there's so many names. And then this one is freed, and that is the goal. And the process for that is bhakti. So that is why you are all here in the Bhagavad Gita class. And hopefully at the end of it, you will have a good idea of how to make progress in our spiritual life, to first identify our spiritual identity, and then to be able to obtain it, or to be able to get rid of our false identity and only be left with our spiritual identity.
A follow-up question, where does karma fall under? Because
We
most
will,
of the karma is because of the deeds that is related to the material world. But
so
it's that karma that gets accrued to
we
the...
have not yet discussed karma. We will discuss it soon. So again, hold on. I cannot do whole Bhagavad Gita, which is planned for several months in one day. So that is, yeah, some of it will come. Now, another question that was asked, or you said, what goes with us? Because the memory of past life does not go. I didn't say it does not go. It goes. It is somewhere there in my psyche here. I don't have access to it. Okay. So it comes there with us. It's there in our subtle body. And similarly, what comes along with that knowledge of our past lives also is our samskaras, our conditioning, it is called, and our karma also comes with us. So it's not like after death, you are absolved of your reactions to your past lives. We will talk about the whole theory of karma in chapter 3, or actually later on in chapter 2 itself. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so 2.16. So very quickly, I will go through this. So who is the real or actual wise person? One who knows. So that is what 2.16 is basically saying. That one who knows that, or those who are the seers of the truth, have concluded that for the non-existent, which is the material body, which it is called as asat, na asato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. And there is no endurance, and of the material body there is no endurance, and for the eternal there is no change. Na bhavo vidyate satah. So abhava means change, and na abhava, no change for the sat. Sat means, so asat and sat are the same thing as material and spiritual. So this they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So basically it is a summary of what has been discussed so far, which is that one should care more for the well-being of the soul. The well-being of the soul, the protection of the soul is more important than the protection of the body. That is real protection, real care, and real wisdom. Okay. So as a judge, as a kshatriya, you can ask today in many countries and many states in the United States and all that, there is capital punishment. So even the judge is killing in that sense, who gives the capital punishment to someone is committing a act of killing. We uphold it as justice, not injustice. Even though the act is the same, whether you kill by a lethal injection or by a gun or whatever. In some countries, killing by a gun used to be a valid way of, giving punishment, or by hanging or whatever. So, but the point is that when the judge is awarding it after, going through proper justice, then it is beneficial to the person, because you are making the person repay the sinful, he's repaying for his sinful act. So you are causing the person to make the repayment. You're forcing the repayment on the person in this life. That is the justice system that has been set in the Vedas and even in modern law books. Now, they may not see it as, oh, there is this sinful karma and I will make him repay by him having to go through the suffering of being killed or life imprisonment or whatever. But the Vedic understanding is you are helping the person to make the repayment, because with every next, so otherwise the sin, now you asked about karma. This is like karma. Karma, one of the translation of karma is sinful reaction. Karma can be, is a complex word. Karma can mean action. Karma can mean so many, or it's based on context. So if we say the context in which karma is used here is sinful reaction, it multiplies by 2 with every life. So if you did not repay in this life, let's say you killed someone, the only way to repay is to get killed. Then if you carry it over into the next life, you have to get killed 2 times. So better, what would you like? To repay it? Repayment is sure. You want to repay with interest or without interest? So you all know when you take a loan, it's best to pay it off as soon as possible. Otherwise, the interest keeps compounding. Okay. So that is the theory behind the Vedic justice system. So you are doing good if the justice is properly delivered. Now there can be injustice. So we are not talking about that. But when justice is properly delivered, you are actually helping the person. So all these points should be considered. Yes, Jeff Prabhu, Krishna Das Prabhu.
Does the soul learn anything
Sorry?
from having been in this body for a lifetime?
Say that again. I didn't get your question.
Oh, okay. So it seems like I'm learning a lot of stuff in this lifetime. My soul doesn't change. My question is, does my soul learn anything by being in this body for this lifetime?
So the soul is unchangeable. The soul does not learn. It is the mind that learns. And mind is part of the subtle body. Okay? Mind and intelligence, man, buddhi, mind and intelligence are the ones that learn, and they carry the learning into the next life. Okay? They carry, this is called conditioning. So it's not the learning, but it is the habits that you form. It's the nature that you form out of the learning. So let's say in this life, you learned that I need to be a good person. I need to help others. And last 20 years, you have been a very nice person who cares for others. That is known as a samskar or a conditioning, or you can say your programming, your behavior, your nature has become more of a very helpful person over the last, whatever you have consciously trained yourself to be a helpful person. That carries over into the next life. Okay. That is known as conditioning, or the training that you put yourself through carries over into the next life. Now, some people may put themselves through bad training, and that will carry over into the next life. These are known as samskaras. All right. Arnab Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Last time I had asked a question about something about rules of karma, and you said it's very complex. I had just a follow-up question on that. You mentioned the word injustice. If injustice happens with a person, is that also linked with because of his karma only? Is everything happening to an individual because of karma?
No, so I think somehow I answered at least this part. And so I try to give brief answers and then leave the detailed answers to future discussions if they are going to be covered in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
So there are 2 causes of suffering of a living entity. One is, and here we are talking about the suffering caused to us by somebody else. Now, suffering can be caused in other ways also. We can cause suffering to ourselves, or suffering can be caused by natural calamities where there is no one person responsible for it. Let's say, I don't know, earthquake happens and I die. So, but mostly the suffering is due to someone else. So there can be two fundamental causes behind that. One is that it's our own wrongdoing to that person, which is why that system has been arranged so that he will get a chance to get back at me. The second one is, if he is causing suffering to me, it's just his free choice out of no reason at all to cause suffering to me. Both are possible. We don't know we will never know which one of the two it was. Okay. So I hope that answers that question, that these both can be causes. Now,
it is that adhyatmic, adhibhautik, and
yes, all
adhidaivik.
I'm trying to shy away from. Yes, adhyatmic, adhibhautik, and adhidaivik. Adhyatmic means of our own suffering caused from ourselves by our own mind. Adhidaivik means caused by natural entities or daivas, by the devatas. Ultimately, even earthquakes don't happen on their own. They are a result of whatever other devatas' acts. And adhibhautik, caused by other living entities. So that's what, yeah, I don't want to go into too much terminology show off, trying to get to the essence. So yes, did I answer your question?
Yes.
What is the cause? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
So another point is that instead of trying to find out what is the cause, somebody is, let's say, doing bad things to me, which of the two it is, which of the two it is, which of the two it is, and you're going crazy trying to find out. And that is not recommended. Forget about trying to find out what is the cause. Our worry should be how to respond to that situation. And one of the answers we got today is tolerance. And the second part of the answer, which will come later, is forgiveness. Later on, you will have a situation, Hindi mein bolte hain na, it's kind of like a slang, har kutte ka din aata hai. Every dog has his day. Today, that dog is stronger and I am weaker. Tomorrow, I'll be stronger, he will be weaker. So when your day comes, don't remember this day and how he made you suffer and you get back at him. Then the cycle will continue like that. You refrain from, so to say, taking revenge. You make the free choice, and we will talk about free will, where in every situation we have a free choice whether to exercise option A or B. And we should always choose the option of forgiveness and advancing our spiritual progress. When you will learn this in later chapters, that taking revenge does not advance our spiritual progress. So only worry in one's life should be to advance our spiritual progress. And whatever needs to be done to advance our spiritual progress, our bhakti, that is what you should do. And taking revenge on others is certainly contrary to that, and therefore forgiveness is very important. Again, to protect your own spiritual progress. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean you go, if somebody, is a bad, he's just, if you associate with him, he'll hurt you. It doesn't mean you go and always hug him and get slapped. And then you again, this whole philosophy of keep turning your other cheek till you keep getting slapped and, you die out of being slapped. That's not the learning. The learning is also not that you slap him back. The learning is to protect your cheeks, which means to leave the situation and worry about having a good set of cheeks so that you don't get slapped, neither you slap them back, which means that you protect your bhakti. You try to distance yourself and go worry about your bhakti, your spiritual progress, instead of trying to find ways to take revenge or doing this thing. Forgiveness doesn't mean always, you stay there and you keep turning your cheeks and he keeps slapping. The snake will bite. You cannot keep saying, oh, I'll turn my other cheek, let him bite here, now let him bite here, now let him bite here. That is foolishness. All right. Okay. Okay. 2.17, a whole new topic begins as to the knowledge of the soul. So we have been talking so much about the soul. What is this soul thing? What is it? So that is being discussed now in the next several verses. What is this soul? Where is it located? So in later chapters, we will understand it is located in the heart. Okay? But its effect pervades the entire body. Sarvam idam, that is what is there in this verse. Avinashi tu tad vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam. So it is pervading, the consciousness is pervading the entire body, and consciousness is the effect of the soul. So as long as there is soul present in the body is conscious. And as soon as the soul leaves, the consciousness also leaves the body. And this, not the soul, but consciousness is becoming a very prominent part of scientific study in major universities these days. Stanford University has a, I don't know in which, in their psychology department or under that or something, they have a big research group on consciousness. What is consciousness? And it's, certainly everybody, the most unbelieving scientist will also say he's conscious. There is a difference. What is the fundamental difference between an alive person and a dead person? It is called consciousness. He's conscious versus unconscious. Now, unconscious doesn't mean, oh, he has become unconscious. That person is still, we say, medically alive. So that conscious word doesn't mean that able to communicate or open the eyes. Even when you are sleeping, even when you are unconscious, so to say, there is consciousness. That is what we are talking about. So that is the effect of the soul. So we'll discuss more about this later in later chapters, but consciousness is the effect of the soul and it pervades the entire body. And sometimes parts of the body become unconscious or they become completely lifeless. And then sometimes we have to cut out those parts of the body and throw them away when they become unconscious. So, consciousness pervades the body, and for, it's an effect of the presence of the soul. Also, Lord Krishna says, Avinashi. Avinashi means it cannot be destroyed. So the soul cannot be destroyed ever. And then, not in the verse, but in the purport, this purport is very important. It contains a wonderful essay by Srila Prabhupada on the properties of a soul with quotes from several Upanishads, primarily Shvetashvatara Upanishad and Munduka Upanishad. So, Srila Prabhupada has given a very nice, I urge you to read the purport here of this particular verse. One of the things that is described here is this size of the soul is described as very tiny, and an analogy is given that it is as tiny as 1 by 10,000th of the tip of a hair. So you take the tip of a hair and you cut it into 100 pieces and take one piece and cut it again into 100 pieces. So which becomes 10,000 or 1/10,000th. That is the size of the soul. So basically the point is it's extremely, extremely tiny, and it is present in the heart, and it is what is giving, it's the source of energy in the body, not physical energy, but the energy which gives consciousness to the body. So that is coming from the soul. Okay, then we go to next verse, 18 and 19. More properties of the soul. three properties that are described again. Anashi. Anashi means, or previously it was avinashi, or the same thing, anashinaha, that which cannot be destroyed or indestructible. Nitya, eternal, again, same concept being repeated. And aparameyasya, or immeasurable or very tiny. So in the Bhagavad Gita, that 1 by 10,000 is given in Shweta Shvatara Upanishad. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna just calls it aparameyasya, or very, very, very tiny. So again, the point is not to be able to measure it with a electron microscope or anything, but it's just said here that it is extremely, extremely tiny. And it cannot be killed, indestructible. And in the 19th verse, it is also said that the soul cannot be killed, which is true, it is indestructible, but the soul is not the doer of actions either. Soul is not the killer, which means killing is one action. So there are so many actions that we take. So soul is not the performer of actions. So Lord Krishna says that neither Bhishma as a soul, not as a body, be ever killed, nor you can be called as the killer. You get the point that the soul of Bhishma cannot be killed and the soul of Arjuna cannot be called as the killer. Well, then somebody is performing actions, isn't it? It's kind of foolish to say that actions are not being performed. And I am performing actions. I just lifted this cup. That's an action. I lift the cup. So who lifted the cup? If it is not my soul, somebody is performing the action. So who is the performer of actions? This also is another concept which will come out more clearly in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So, but to just, it's not the soul, it is someone else or it is something else, but it is our past conditioning. It is our samskaras that are causing our body. Now, actions can be performed even by the mind. Okay, now they are called mental actions. Mentally, you may abuse somebody. Oh, that rascal, oh, da, 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 da. In your mind, you may, curse them. That is also an action. And sometimes, if you are very powerful, if you're a yogi, with your mind, you can cause actions. If you have seen Star Wars movie, they say force. By the force, they will, these Jedis used to lift things. How many of you have seen Star Wars or are Star Wars fans? So the Jedi can, use the force and do so many things. That's the mind. So it is true that by the mind, you can do actions also. If your mind is so focused and so powerful, you can actually lift the cup. Right now, I'm lifting it with my hands. I could lift it with my mind if I was a Jedi. These Jedis are these powerful people in the Star Wars movie. Okay. So who is performing the action? The mind or the body, and that's based on a past conditioning, even in this life or the past lives, either way. So that's who performs the actions. But more on this in 3rd chapter and future chapters, but not the soul. So soul is not the performer of actions, and soul cannot be killed either. Oops, sorry. Now, 2.20, very important verse. And this also a very important concept that is coming up. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So for the soul, there is neither birth or death. So someone was asking the question, when was the soul created? So again, it is, and it was said in 2.11 also that never was there a time when you or I were not present, which means the soul was a specific soul. You, I don't know who I should pick on, Pradeep, Prabhu. I see your hand raised, so I'll take your question in just a second. But you were always present as your soul. Always, always. Okay. So for the soul, there is neither birth or death at any time. He has not come into being. Na jayate mriyate. Jayate means taking birth. Mriyate means death. You see that word here. It's also in kind of, this bullet should have been coming at the last, but jayate and nashyati. Nashyati, same thing as mriyate. So birth and death. And he will not come into being. He is unborn. Ajo. In the word, third line of the verse, you will see ajo. Unborn, eternal, ever existing and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain, which means the soul never dies either. All right. So please try to understand this carefully. A very important and deep concept. The soul has no origin. Okay. If I was a strict teacher, I would take every student and make them repeat this sentence 10 times or 100 times. Please say, everybody say, the soul has no origin. The soul has no origin. The soul, like that. Our teachers used to make us memorize, sine, cosine, tangent. Sine is what? Opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Or tangent, opposite over adjacent. We repeated so many times after 40 years, also have not forgotten what is sine, cosine, and tangent, right? So like that, it must get into your bones that the soul has no origin. The soul was never created. So you should never ask me this question. But wait, before the soul came into existence, where was it? Or when it actually got created? No, I understand it was never created, but when was it actually created? All these are, just asking the same question, and the answer is not going to change. The answer will stay that it was never created. Okay, very hard concept to get. Very, very hard concept to get. And another name for this concept, which will come later, is anadi. Adi means beginning. Anadi means one which has no beginning. So try to understand what is no beginning. Now, in our lives, the soul is the only thing which has no beginning. Everything else has a beginning. Everything else has a beginning. Your bodies have a beginning. Don't you all celebrate birthdays? How many of you celebrate birthdays? I bet all of you. So what do you celebrate? The beginning, isn't it? The beginning of what? Your body, correct? So we all and everything, so every person has a birthday. Everything also has a time when it was created. So how can we understand that the soul was never created? It is beginningless. It's not that it was created so far back that we cannot trace its birth. That is also not the point. It was literally never created. Then who created it? That is a trick question. It was never created. So the question of who created or anything does not make sense. It just was. So this concept is hard to get because we are familiar only with material things, all of which, including the body and everything around this cup, is material. Everything has a beginning. Everything has a beginning. In our surroundings, nothing is there which has no beginning, is beginningless. Only the soul, only spiritual items or entities, which are basically jivas, have no beginning, beginningless. Okay. Now, one very great saint gave a very nice analogy to understand beginningless. Okay. So for the scientific minded people, here's a small discussion to make you, I was very uncomfortable with this concept of beginningless. Now, To become uncomfortable with the concept of beginningless, you have to try to think about what is beginningless for a long time. Then that discomfort will begin. Then that discomfort will come. That, oh, what is this beginningless? So I have dealt with it myself for a long time. And I became very uncomfortable with the concept of beginningless. And then this statement or this whole understanding made a lot of sense to me. So, but I will just say it. It may not make a lot of sense for you all, but then you can come back and review the video later after you have developed enough discomfort with the concept of beginningless. Then this will help. So here is the discussion. Here is this cup that I am holding in my hands. All right. I purchased it 2-3 years ago. Let us say I purchased it in 2020. Okay, so let us say this cup came into existence on 1st January 2020. All right. So when was this cup created? Let me ask Pradeep Prabhu, can you unmute?
Hello, Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay. Can you be my buddy?
Yes.
Okay. So when was this cup created?
Before the date which mentioned, like
I mentioned the date, sample date. What is that date?
January 1st.
1st January 20. So when was this cup created?
Or maybe December, 1st December.
No, let us say 1st January 2020.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So can we say that this cup did not exist on 31st December 2019? Is that
Yeah.
a true statement that it did not exist?
This cup does not exist. Yes.
This cup did not. Yes, we are talking about this cup, this specific instance of the cup. Did not exist on it. Did it exist on June 2000, year 2000?
Yes.
It existed, this cup, June 2000, 20 years before its birth.
No.
Did it exist in 1500 BC?
No. Of course, no.
Now comes the question, when did its non-existence begin?
Okay.
On which date did its non-existence begin?
Like not make sense.
Aha, that is the concept of beginningless. Okay? That is the concept of beginningless. When did its non-existence begin? No answer. So that gives some understanding. It's not the full understanding of the meaning of beginningless, but it gives some understanding of what is that, what is the disturbance regarding beginningless. I will leave it at that. This is not a very deep topic of, it's a very deep topic, but not suitable for this group. But I just wanted it to be recorded for future purposes. Aja means no birth. So that word is, or same thing, beginningless. Anadi and Aja are similar, and that is the word used in this verse. And even time. Now, when you talk about when was something created, that question has a notion of time built into it, as if time is eternal. Time is also material, and everything material is temporary. So time is also has a beginning and has an end. Even as per the principles of physics, time started with the Big Bang, assuming Big Bang theory is correct. There itself, there are a lot of questions about it. I'm not going to get into it. But time has a beginning. Even physicists will not entertain the question, what was there before the Big Bang? So the point is, our Vedas say time is a material energy of Krishna, which means it also has a beginning, it will have an end. And therefore, the question that when was anything created is obviously a material question because you are trying to ask a material property of it. When was something created means you are asking a question about time, and time is material. So it's a material question, and material question for something spiritual as the soul does not make sense. Like that's asking how heavy is the soul. It is a material property. You cannot weigh the soul. Okay. Even the size of the soul, it cannot be measured. When it is said 1 by 10,000, it is just to give an idea that it is immeasurable. It is so small that it is immeasurable. That is the meaning of saying it is 1 by 10,000, that at that point you will say, so that's just an analogy. It's not saying that it is actually has a size. It's just to say that it is immeasurable. So it is subject to material laws, and there are, so everything material has these 6 vikaras. Vikar means these 6 properties of change. What are these properties of change? Creation, growth, undergo some more changes in its form, stay as it is for some time. So change and stay, change and stay, then decay or dwindle, and finally get destroyed. So everything material has these 6 states, of which creation and death are integral parts. But soul is not material, and therefore it is never created and it never dies and it doesn't change. And that's why all these things have been said in Bhagavad Gita, that it is unchangeable, it is anadi or aja, and it is cannot be killed and all that. Okay. So now let us take question. Yes, you had a question. I saw your hand was raised. Pradeep.
Yeah, my wife had a question, so she will ask.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I had a question about, first of all, 219 shlok. So there, basically, Lord Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to kill Dronacharya and Bhishma,
Yes.
that are basically his seniors and also gurus.
Mhm.
However, on the contrary, in the previous shloks, we learned that it is not completely uh, justified to kill anybody, right? And it could build the karma onto the human being who is actually going to kill the person. So, how would the karma balance out over here in case of Krishna when he would kill so many?
Very good question. So this the very straightforward and brief answer. All this is a very fundamental question of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So the short answer is that when one acts on God's instructions, okay, when one acts on God's instructions, then that activity or that action does not produce any karma. So now if Arjuna will act on Krishna's instructions, knowing that Krishna is Bhagavan, which he knows already, and he will get plenty of proof from Krishna about it. He is at that point following Krishna's instructions. Whether now that instruction is to kill or to let go anyone, it is following Krishna's instruction. That is the mood in which Arjuna acts, that I will follow your instruction. If you go to the 72nd verse of the 18th chapter, 18.70, not to 73, 18.73, Arjuna says, Karishye vachanam tava. At the very end of Bhagavad Gita, he says, I will do what you say. He does not say, I will now go and fight. Lord Krishna is telling him to fight. In so many verses, he will say, you should stand up and fight. But his conclusion at the end is, I will do what you say. There is a significance to it, even though they are same, because Krishna is saying you should fight. And he could have said, I will fight. But he chose to not say, I will fight, but he chose to say the more fundamental thing as to why he will fight is because Krishna is saying so.
Hmm.
So it is important to follow Krishna's instructions always, whether they are to fight or to forgive. After saying the whole Bhagavad Gita, if Krishna would have said, hey, let us forgive all these people and go, Arjuna would have happily walked away. But it is Lord Krishna, who is Bhagavan, who wants to deliver justice to these people. He says in Open 11.33, what does he say at the end of last sentence of 1133? Nimitta matram bhava savyasachi. Okay, nimitta matra. You are just an instrument. Nimitta matra. I am the one who is actually ordaining or ordering the killing of these people because I am Bhagavan. It's my duty to deliver justice. So Bhagavan, जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, भगवान के घर देर है अंधेर नहीं, and all those things. So the Lord is delivering justice, and he's telling Arjuna, if you don't want to carry out my whatever I am saying, I will choose somebody else, or I can do it simply by my will. I don't need anybody. Bhagavan can do actions simply by thinking or by willing. They
Yeah.
can, people will die. But he is giving the opportunity to Arjuna to be a obedient student of Krishna and carry out his seva. So Arjuna does a killing, but with seva bhav. Even the killing can be done with seva bhav. Now, Krishna is not coming to us to go and say, go kill. Krishna probably didn't come to Hitler and say, kill all these Jews or whatever. So we should not go kill. This killing of Bhishma and Drona is a specific instruction to Arjuna. The general instruction of Bhagavad Gita is ahimsa, non-violence, and that is what we should take to heart. And the whole concept of Bhagavad Gita, which we must have a integrated understanding of all the teachings, and still we can be confused, and that's why we need a perfect guru as well. So not only the instructions of Krishna, but a proper guru. Now there can be some cheater gurus who can say, oh, you go kill. Okay, so now that is a whole big discussion how to find a proper guru. A perfect guru who is a perfect representative of Krishna. Then you should follow the instructions of guru. Did that help?
Yeah. Thank you. One more question is on 2.20. So, being a science student, we always understood there is a cause and effect relationship, right?
Yes,
So,
exactly.
to every effect, there would have been a cause at the beginning. So, is it not that everything came out of God, or all of us who are souls that came out of God? Is it not the correct understanding that that was the cause of
No,
our generation?
no. So even God is not the cause of the soul.
Oh,
Okay. God is in that sense. Okay. So souls have been there beginningless. They have just existed. Okay. So they were existing even before time existed. So the souls are really always existing. Now, yeah, it's a very deep concept. I will leave it at that. Okay. Yes, it is true in one sense that everything is Bhagavan is the cause of everything. Sarva Karana Karanam, it is called, or about Bhagavan. But in that sense, Bhagavan is not giving birth to the soul. Okay.
got it. Thank you, Hare
And
Krishna.
if you didn't really get it, even though you said you got it, and you really feel no, thoda bach gaya,
Yeah.
something is left, then you are in the right space. That is the discomfort I want to struggle with, and this is a fundamental discomfort that many philosophers, Vedic philosophers, have, and they have written various, this is a big topic of discussion, not suitable for our level of Bhagavad Gita discussion.
Noted. Thank you.
Yes, Damodar Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a question from previous verse. So you said that, so who is the performer or doer of action? Someone or something else, not the soul. Then who? Material, mind and body. So as we understand from Prakriti Kriya Manani and the end of the Bhagavad Gita, there's one more verse. Ishwar sanction is there, Jiva's desire is there, body and mind conditioning and all
5
that.
factors of action.
Yes, Prabhuji. So my question is basically, who is the culprit? Do we just blame it on material, mind and body by past conditioning? Why not Jiva? Because without Jiva, there is no mind, body. And then without Ishwar sanction, there is no mind, body, or Jiva can't even perform that thing if Ishwar is not sanctioning. So why are we saying that it is only because of body and mind past conditioning?
Let me refine your question a little bit. Okay. So who is, at some point you said, who is ultimately the culprit? And also you said at somewhere that Ishwar is sanctioning everything.
Yes.
Isn't he responsible? Okay.
Yeah.
So this we will discuss again in little more detail later. But what is Ishwara's role? So Ishwara's role is sanctioner. It is in the 13th chapter, there are 2 roles of Paramatma, Upadrishta and Anumanta. 13.23, 23rd verse of the 13th chapter, he says, Paramatma is Upadrishta and Anumanta. So Anumanta means he is the giving Anumati or giving the permission. But that is true that Paramatma gives the permission, but he does not stop a living entity from giving permission when the living entity wants to do something bad, as long as there is enough pious credits available to him to execute his free will. So the propensity or the capacity to will something, to desire something, is based on one's past karmic, the pious credits that one has accumulated. And that causes one to take actions of bigger and bigger magnitude. And then he says that the living entity says, I want to do this. And if it is within his capacity, within his earnings, like you go into a store, you have only $50 in your pocket. Maybe you can buy a t-shirt and a pant, but you cannot buy a gold necklace or a diamond necklace with $50. You need to have $5,000 in your pocket. So Bhagwan says, okay, you have only this much capacity. You desire to buy any t-shirt. It's your choice. It should be within $50. Because you have pious. So all these bad people who did various bad things must have accumulated that much good karma that when they desired to execute certain bad actions, the Lord said, okay, if that's what you want, the Lord never interferes with a living entity's desire to do something bad. And this is a whole question as to why doesn't God stop living entities or people from doing bad things? If he is the overall controller, he can do anything. Why he doesn't? Then the whole world will be good. There'll be no bad things. And we can go down that line of discussion and it will be a long discussion. And there's a perfect answer to that as well.
How about the Jiva?
Yeah,
like
so
Bhagwan, you explained Bhagwan is the sanctioner.
Mhm.
So if
But
we have
the
enough,
desirer is the jiva. Okay. The desirer is jiva, the sanctioner is Bhagwan. And Bhagwan makes sure that he sanctions what the jiva, the desire is within the capacity of the desirer of the jiva.
so if Jiva is the desirer, and then the action is being done, so Jiva is also responsible, right?
Yes, ultimately he is responsible. Of course, he is the one who desired.
So that means the Jiva is so when you say the Jiva is like who is the performer or action? Someone or something else, not the
Jiva
soul.
doesn't mean the soul here. Jiva here it means the mind of the jiva.
Okay, Prabhuji.
He is the one who is desiring.
Okay, Prabhuji.
The jiva is completely overtaken by the mind. I will explain these concepts later. But the jiva is like at that point has been, discarded. The mind has taken over what should happen with the body. The mind is part of the subtle body, but all the activities are now completely in control of the mind without the sanction, not sanction rather, but without the alignment of the soul. The soul is always pure. We'll come to this concept later. Okay, let's see. Yes.
Prabhuji, about the second, this 3.20, you said that Kal has beginning and end because it's Krishna's energy. So Kal, but we understand Bhagavad Gita's 5 topic, and then we understand Kal is eternal. So, but you said that Kal has a beginning and end. So how to understand that, Prabhuji?
Yeah, so Kal is not eternal. Kal, and again, I actually missed answering one question now that I remember about the Chiranjeevi aspect of another person who asked of Hanumanji. Anyway, so within a certain, like within the life of Brahma, the Kala has a beginning and has an end. But overall, time is eternal, just like material creation is eternal because material universes are always being created and destroyed. Okay. It's already past 8 o'clock. Okay. I thought we'll cover more verses today.
I had one quick question.
Yeah, before let's go to, I'll answer the
Sure.
hand. Shubhi
Yeah.
Mata. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a question about soul and reincarnation. So when a child is born, what decides which soul goes to that body? Or in other words, is it just karma, which is the determining factor that determines whether a soul goes to an animal body or a human body,
Yes.
or are there other factors?
Karma and one's spiritual progress, or you can say one's karma and one's bhakti. So these are the two determining factors.
How spiritual the
Okay.
soul was
Because
in their
bhakti
past life.
cannot be qualified as karma. So that also we will discuss this in 6th chapter towards the end. The last 8 verses or 7 verses of 6th chapter have a detailed discussion on this, that how bhakti can cause the living entity to take the next life. So, but it is, if we disregard the spiritual progress, yes, it is the karma. Okay. Because because of certain, the jiva has certain desires. Kindly mute yourself. Because the jiva has certain desires, and either to fulfill those desires, now having a desire, unfulfilled desire, and to have certain kind of enjoyments or sufferings, okay, are the causes to get a certain type of body. Now, if you get a certain type of body, there is always going to be, ultimately, a body is a house of suffering. It is known as dukha alayam. We will study this in 8th chapter. It is a house, and this material world and the material body are both dukha alayam, dukhalayam. It is a house of suffering, basically. So what kind of pleasures and pains one is entitled to, or one has earned, one gets a body according to that. Now you can say one gets a body for suffering, one gets a body for pleasure. Why is this Prince William, or whoever is the next king of England, why is he born as the king of next prince? Why was I not born in his place? He must have done something really nice things in the past, why he is born as the next king of England. In the same way, why is anybody born like a dog or a cat? So it goes both ways, but it is based on one's samskaras, which comes from one's karmas. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Arnab Prabhu, yes. Last question.
Yes, just as souls are beginningless, is Krishna also beginningless?
Yes, he is also a soul.
Okay.
Paramatma, but yes, beginningless. Nevertheless.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We will stop here today and we will continue. Yeah, we are making slower than expected progress, but I really appreciate all your questions. Keep them coming. The questions unpack more than just going through the book. So I really appreciate your interaction and enthusiasm. Thank you very much. We will continue with our class next week. Yeah. So then after that, I think for 1 or 2 weeks, we'll not have a class. So next week, we will have a class. Same time. All right. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.